Yo, it's your favorite stringer. Favorite stringer mains and crosses here, and we're steamrolling these podcasts. I love the comments and the subscription, the thumbs up. Definitely helps us out, and it gives me motivation to kind of push on forward. I've been doing a lot of pre-recording. I have so many, and I was like, guys, I want to put it out, but it's like, hey, let's just push out 2 a week, and that should be good to go. And I love our interaction on Instagram. So we got a question from our Instagram DM. So I have a topic. So I asked them, like, hey, guys, you have a topic? Please send it in. I'll put it in the comments below. It's like, hey, what kind of issues that goes on in your shop, your business? Like I said, it doesn't have to be about tennis. I can kind of, if you have a personal problem, I can mix it around and just kind of like relate it to a tennis business. You know, if you're having a problem with relationships, you're having a problem with family, friends, whatever, we can do a whole tennis role play type thing. However, this one is definitely tennis related. So my follower asked, I have a topic. Should stringers be ruthless in the business? For instance, you know you have a better product, better knots, have a electronic machine. Everybody else is using a crank, flared and grommets, doing double half hits, leaving marks all over the strings. Do we inform potential clients and make them aware they are not getting the quality they got? And, you know, that's a solid topic. And I was like, dude, you know what? So many people, I see it all the time, guys. Let's get serious. Unstrung Heroes, I'm sure at Tennis Talk, I don't go there anymore because I'm banned. But you guys are always talking about quality, right, over quantity, or, you know, the craftsmanship, like the skills, the honing. And it's interesting because it's like a double-edged sword. I used to feel one way. And now as I age gracefully here, and now that I'm in the business more, now I'm actually doing more marketing, more consulting, and I see the results of the two, right? Obviously, on one hand, right, it's almost like having a college degree, and the other person's like, well, you know, I'm a self-made millionaire, whatever. Both are millionaires, and it's like, hey, I went this path, and I went this path. Two different paths, and that's like the game of life. You ever play the game of life? You kind of, you know, roll no, you spin a wheel, and it's like, hey, this is how many steps you get. And it's like, hey, you want many babies, things like that. Take this as a learning experience, right? I'm sure everybody has their let's say between the scale 1 to 10, you know, as a stringer, you know, you know, obviously nobody wants to be 5 below, right? It just seems like that scale is like, well, I don't want to be in that crowd. But I guarantee you line it up and you have a scale, and you go ask a random 10 people, and they'll get their racket strung by maybe 5 different stringers, right? And they'll all have different results. And why? Even though they probably might be in the same skill level, they're doing the right knots, they're being trained. Let's say they had a whole day training. Everybody knew what not to do, things like that. It all comes down to emotions. You know, for me, before I believe, hey, having the accolades, having the certification, having the backing of like grand slams and tournaments and professionals make you a more profitable stringer. And that is not the case, because my end goal was, in the beginning, the end goal was, hey, let's make this sustainable. I want to become life-sustaining riches off of tennis. Like I said, I'm not asking for the most in the world, but let's say this was my full-time job. What will I do? And the fact that I'm almost there now, if I was single, this would be a perfect. But now I have family, things like that. It just doesn't cut it yet. Hence, I'm doing all these, you know, conferences and trying to get promoting my, you know, kind of, hey, let me consult a little bit with your team and see if I can get your sales up. So a lot of people don't realize I just don't do one-to-one. And there used to be me. It's like, hey, I can help you build your brand, or you build your company as a, you know, home stringer. But if some people don't know, we actually work with a couple teams, and like I said, I wouldn't say NDA, but that's kind of one of the things. Obviously, you guys know I'm working with Solenko, but there's some other NDAs that I just can't talk about. I do work and consult with, hey, how to motivate, kind of like a HR type rep. You know, it's like, hey, these are how our reps are doing. What can we do different? What are we doing in our meetings? And I would listen to them and just be like, you know, in the background, listening on the phone call. It's like, hey, and I would write things down. I was like, hey, these are the key notes. Like, what are you guys talking about? How you guys conduct things? Why is this so business type? Because everything right now is like all like what? Metrics, right? I want statistics. I want the numbers. I want this and that. It's very 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in this day and age, the inconsistency of things happening in a sequence, it's better to kind of like, hey, let's go with the vibe. And You never been to a place where it's like something's off? Nobody says anything, but you just know like the feeling's there. So when I go into these places, I go straight off of obviously my gut feeling, and then for those feelings, even though it's my gut, my personal opinion, I would translate into these business training that I had, and the things I've read on, and the many audiobooks, the many books I read about making it in the marketplace, marketing, CRM, things like that. It's like, how do we fix these type of things? And then I do a twist to it. Anyway, long story short, I felt like before having quality experience, all the accolades would help my business grow. And 10 plus year, a decade over, I feel like if I would have had the same mindset I have now, I would be making those high marks, because I realized that clients, the second that question was asked, like, do they deserve to know the quality of another stringer? And I say right now, no. For one thing, you never want to talk bad about another competitor, because obviously it's a small world, things like that. You might need their help in the future. Like I said, if you say bad things comes to you. So I think you should never burn bridges. Let's say if the person had a bad string job, would you point them out? Would you throw them under a bus? I wouldn't. The most I've ever said is like, depending on what machine he has, or I never blame the stringer. Sometimes it's not the right string, it's not the right type, and usually that's what it is. Right, what it is. So let's go on to the discussion here. Right, like when it comes to tennis string, right? What do clients prioritize? It's practicality. We're living in 2024, post-COVID. Come on now, everybody wants that practicality, getting the racket back in a playable condition at the right time, at the right price, time, and just getting it. Keep it basic, right? Over the craftsmanship and the experience, I feel like those clients, I mean, they just want their rackets, and performance is second. It's been like, especially a lot of rec players, right? Obviously, we're gonna go over that, but a lot of our clientele are, your weekend warriors. They played for high school, they played for, it could be a student. There's nobody in that ATP. Might be once in a while, right? We might get those couple clients, but usually it's like post college and rec, things like that. So obviously tend to your clientele. Listen to me. How many times, raise your hands, that you strung a racket that's 55 pounds, somebody said, hey, I want 55. You string it 55 pounds. You did all the works. You give it to them. It's like, hey, it didn't feel like 55. I feel like it was too tight. I usually get my racket strung, and I feel like when I was playing today, it was just kind of flying everywhere. I feel like it was too light. Let's do it again. Let's try 58, because this is too light. And you're like, okay. You do it again, right? No, you don't. You string it at 55 and see what the client says. And they're, oh, much better now. Have you ever had that? I guarantee, even at tournaments, sometimes it's like, it's a mental thing, right? Maybe they had an off day and they were like, you know what? I'm just going to blame this racket and this string, because it couldn't be me as a tennis player. It's got to be somebody else. There's always playing the blaming game. So same thing, placebo effect. You tell them, hey, this is a master racket technician, ERSA, and here's Chelsea from Mains and Crosses, right? Well, MRT, probably, he's at a Grand Slam right now. It's probably gonna take him about 2 weeks to come back. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm at a Grand Slam. I'm doing big things. Yes, he's a great stringer. However, your racket, what he doesn't know is the racket's broken right now. So that's one scenario. And he comes to Chelsea. Chelsea gets it done. Obviously Chelsea's stringing at home here at Mains and Crosses. A young little girl, and she said, hey, this is the price. Actually, it was higher than the MRT price, but he said, hey, what kind of tournaments you done? Oh, I've done none. Oh, I've done none. What do you mean? Like, yeah, I just string for fun on the weekends here. My dad trains me very well. He's Smitty from Mains and Crosses. My mom's also a gift from Mains and Crosses. They taught me how to string. I strung maybe 10 rackets in my life. He's probably like, oh my God, something's something's wrong, right? Like, oh, would you rather have a 10 racket or a Grand Slam stringer, right? However, 2 weeks, string's broken, Chelsea's there. Chelsea's like, I can do it in like an hour, and we have the strings. It's gonna be $45. 45 bucks doesn't sound bad. He'll get it in an hour. It's Chelsea. However, she has a machine. She looked like she can handle it. I can't wait for this MRT guy. He's stringing at the U.S. Open. let's give her a chance. So she gets the racket done an hour, maybe before an hour. She gets it done. Everything's looking good. Client's pick it up like, oh, hey, thanks. Everything looks great. And Chelsea's like, oh, appreciate it. Hope you enjoy. So he goes play with it. You know, weekend warrior plays and plays and plays, and weeks and months goes by, right? When he thinks again, you think he's gonna think about that MRT, or is he gonna think about Chelsea, who got it done, a reasonable price, reasonable time? He's probably gonna go with the less experience because they're focused on functionality. And most clients are probably concerned about whether the racket's playable, right? As long as the string holds up and the tension's close, what the crest, they're satisfied. The nuance of just expert string techniques are always unnoticed, undervalued anyway, because it's like, hey, I strung this in a 2-piece, and I did an extra pull. So, when we tie the knot there, it doesn't lose the tension too much and holds a little bit firm, You think they care? You think they care? They don't. They probably won't even know, especially if they're wrecked. Even if they were a professional, right? How many times they filled out a slip? 52, 52. They don't tell you how many knots. They don't tell you any. Do you do a pre-stretch, or do you do a knot function? And some knot functions 5%, some 10%. Like, how do you know? They just want the racket back, and it somewhat holds up, and the tension is close to what they say, right? Next one. Why if craftsmanship and experience takes the backseat? Time sensitivity. Guys, we're in the DC area, guys. People barely have time for lunch. And yeah, the whole COVID thing, things slow down a little bit, but I feel like at the end of the day, things are kind of moving back to, people going back to work, no more work from home, things like that. Even so, I would rather be at a happy hour and then knowing that my racket will be done when I'm done with happy hour versus like, I'm going to wait another 2 days. So sometimes clients need their racket strung quickly, especially when they're paying for a match or a practice. They need it tomorrow. Like, nobody's going to wait for a week, 2-day turnaround. They want the fastest turnaround. Whoever guarantees that fast turnaround, I guarantee you it can be Chelsea versus Richard Parnell. If Richard Parnell is not available for you in another week or two, Chelsea can do it, and he will be satisfied because he's getting his racket done, right? Even if it wasn't done correctly, the racket is done, the transaction is done. Let's go. Let's move on. Budget constraint. That's the third one. So far it's been what? Focus and functionality, time sensitivity, and budget, right? They don't care you have all these training. You don't care you have an ERT. They don't care you spent money. Like for me, like when I have this Giannis machine, I'll mention it on a certain occasion where it's like, hey, you have a Giannis racket? I got a Giannis machine. But I never be like, you know how much that is? Unless that client's like that. That's why you have to learn how to read people also. Your clientele should be your buddy. You should know, like, this person likes high-tech stuff. Let me tell them about this machine. A person who's just like, hey, I don't even know what my daughter used. Just get it done. Would you care? Anyway, price is a significant matter. And, you hear about me talk about, hey, let's raise the price, raise the price. However, at the same time, sometimes people go for that affordability, especially when you're at the level. Or even if you're a high level, it's like, hey, I'm stringing at a phenomenal rate. I'm breaking strings. I'm playing competitively. I need a break on that price. And the fact of it is it's just interesting where if Chipotle goes up for a bowl on a steak or double meat or a queso, did you know getting queso and guac adds almost $10 to your bowl? So the bowl's $9.95 for chicken. You add the guac, that's another $4, and then you add another queso, that's another $37. And like with tax, everything, it's almost $19, $20 right there. And of course, you need some drinks, and you need some chips. Come on. So budget constraint, I think Philly, as long as the string is placed and the racket feels good, extra cost of expert service isn't justified for them. So I can't be like, hey, I need to get paid more because I'm an MRT. I need to get paid more because I've strung a grandstand. I need to get paid more because I work at a club. I need to pay more because my showroom is like this. No, it can't be your service. It has to be other things. It's got to be things that are time. I think time would be the best thing. Like, hey, you're buying time. If I can be like, hey, I'm not selling strings, I'm selling time back. They would be like, okay, well, 45 isn't that bad, 100%. And the perception of simplicity, string may be views as simple things for a lot of clients. A lot of people out there, I guarantee you, if you go ask 10 people randomly and ask, hey, how do you get a racket strung? And they're like, I thought you just get a new racket. Don't they come strung? Or like you just get a new racket? Like I thought that was over. So sometimes they might not see the value of paying such an expertise when they can just believe any stringer or any competent one can get the job done. Like, well, the one that came from Walmart, those are strung. What's going on? So, they don't see having those additional skills make any difference. So it's like it's the perception of simplicity. It's like, once again, and like the market dynamics. Like if you're in a big city, you're probably gonna make a lot more. But I hate saying that too, because the price of a Louis Vuitton in New York is probably the same price. Actually, it is the same price in Missouri. If I'm not even sure if Missouri has a Louis Vuitton retail store, but they keep the price the same. It's not because of location, guys. Stop giving me that. Stop giving me that. It's like Gucci here, it's gonna be the same price as Gucci over there. It's like, that's why they call it like market price, right? Or like same thing as on cars. Like, dude, a Ferrari here is gonna be the same price as Ferrari there, or Honda. I mean, they might have different taxes and stuff like that, but the price stays the price. Not well, since y'all live in Ohio somewhere randomly, it's gonna be different in Miami. The price, like, well, those Miami guys can afford. The price is more there. It's gonna be cheaper down in Ohio. You fly to Ohio, it's gonna be 2 times cheaper. And no, it doesn't work that way. The market, it's just like you just got a sheer number too. So scarcity is good. Remember, I told you don't have too many options. I can tell you right now, in DC area, there's less than 5 stringers out there. I'm gonna tell you right now. And I'm talking about like real, like people who actually put their time and effort to it, like having a shop, things like that. So don't come at me where it's like, oh, it's location. People here won't. The people over here won't pay that much. They won't pay for you. Sorry, it hurts, but you're not worth it to them. The reason you say that they won't pay more than $20 where you live, and they won't pay you more than $20, they'll pay me more, 100%. Right? So don't sell yourself short. If you think you're worth 20, then that's probably how much you're worth. I mean, honestly. Anyway, craftsmanship and experience doesn't matter. The pro and cons of that, the affordability, you can save your clients a lot of money, speed, the simplicity, and wider access, right? Lower costs, it's like, hey, faster service, things like that. But also, the cons they get, you have to tell them too. Is like, hey, I think that what you have to tell them is, hey, the consistency, right? So now I have to go fight on the other side. Like, hey, quality does matter. So if you get a stringer who's inconsistent, they're not doing such a great job, the basic service may result in consistent string, leading variation performance. And people can be frustrated, especially if you're used to, a certain tension, and it's like, hey, this didn't feel like the way all these other stringers have been doing. Limited customization, less experience time. Like they might not have like I don't know how to do a all around the world pattern, or I don't know how to put lead tape here. Like how can what's the balance? Right? And the last thing would be overlooking value. I see it right here. I wrote some notes. Like clients may miss out on some benefits when it comes to skilled strings, such as improved performance and durability. Like maybe things like that you can kind of get away with, right? But as far as I feel like, going back to the question here, and I see like, hey, should you let them know that you have a better product, you do better knots, computer machines, that everybody using a crank, flip, things like that? I would not, because it's up to them. Like obviously they went to them before, with these double half hitch flame grubbins. Nobody ever came back like, oh man, they flare the shit out of my grommet, or man, you know what? They should have used a pro knot or a Parnell knot, but look at the guy doing the double half. The only time I see anybody critiquing about another string is from another stringer. And that's the problem. We got self-hate. And that's kind of funny, because you usually hear that around like certain topics, but now it's like, this is truly, it's not self-hate. It's like it's professional hate. It's like, my God, I'm a stringer, but I gotta hate on another person for me to make it. And that's not how it should be. And that means we are underappreciated. That's all that means. Like, all this self-hate, all this like hating on other stringers or commenting on other things. And sometimes it's just like, wow, I know this because I studied so hard, because like I'm the tough shit. But sometimes it's just you being vulnerable. And that hurts you guys too. Like, remember I told you like you were worth $20 because that's people in your area, that's all they're gonna pay you. Same thing here, guys. Maybe it is you. Maybe it's me too. Like I said, if there's a problem and everybody's saying the same thing, then odds are that's the problem. So if you feel like your clients are not returning, your clients are always questioning your things, your clients are always, having a 2 cents about every single thing you do, maybe they're not being picky. Maybe they'll just be like, hey man, you should do this better. And we're so focused on like, hey, on the craftsmanship, but we forget about the business aspect. We forget about the customer service. We forget about how to treat somebody like a human being, right? Just because you know it all in string, it doesn't mean you know it all in life. And maybe that person's having a bad day. Maybe they just want to be heard, right? Sometimes they're just frustrated at something else and they're bringing it on to you. Like, hey, they're having an argument with their wives, and like, daughter's not listening to them, and now the daughter wants their racket strung, and then she brings it to you, and you're like, get this done, and then, it's just releasing a stress. And I feel like if a string can be like a therapist, it would make a lot more people happy. And one last thing, I was going to talk about this before, as far as, being a stringer and being a decent human being. Help one another, guys. If you can teach another person how to string, I would take on an apprentice any day. And I'm glad that I have my daughter who I can just, teach her the ropes. I kind of let her do and make some of the same mistakes. But I was like, hey, we'll do it until you get it right. Her issue was, having a solid knot, tying off. And she's like, I'm losing a little slack. And the reason is she still has small hands. So I was like, hey, use the tools you have. Lock the machine. Like, but she's learning. Now she's like, hey, I'm going to angle this. I'm going to put it on the brake locks. And I'm just going to, go up and down or whatever, and her tie-offs are much better. Like I said, I wish I had some of those guidance when I was younger. That being said, guys, it's really not hard. It's really not hard. You're selling Fugazi. Like, guys, you already know it. It's like when they ask you 53 pounds, let's do 52 or 52.5, because they're very tension sensitive. Like, really? 0.5? If like I said, I would focus on the business. So to answer this question, it's like I would not say anything bad about the competitor. I'd be like, hey, you know what? We're gonna string it up for you. If this plays well, then you come back to us. And if we don't do it well, hopefully we get another chance. Tell us why, and we'll go from there. And I think that's the real thing. It's taking some harsh criticism. I look at my reviews sometimes, and one thing that I need to work on myself is not punctuality as a person, because I'm always on time. It's punctuality as far as the business. Like, are you treating this like a business? Or are you treating this like a game? Every single aspect about you says perfection. You got the MRT, you got the Wilson Bayardo, you got, all these certification, all these gizmos and gadgets. But are you good on your time? Are you punctual? Can you finish a deadline? If you say you'll do something, can you get it done in time? So many stringers are coming like 20 minutes late. A lot of clients have been waiting forever. Shop's not even open. I told them I was going to be ready this afternoon, but it's not going to be ready until tomorrow. Or, they said they're going to have it afternoon. They come by the afternoon and they're working on it. Can you keep your word? I think that sells too, guys. Many stringers, you're at a tournament and you wake up late, or you're not part of the team. You're like, hey, you're just dragging around, you're not cleaning up after yourself. It's things like that. It's actually like just being a solid human being, right? Being a professional. So you're professional with everything else, but you can't make it on time. You can't give a promise on a date and keep it. You're gonna lose clients faster that way. Screw all your accolades, screw all your training and years of experience. If you cannot be punctual in this business, you deserve to go under. And I'm sorry to say that many stringers treat this like a game. Even though you talk business, you talk like, hey, you're $1 million. You just can't, but you can't make it to that 8 o'clock appointment. Your shop says you're open at 7. You're strolling at 7:45. You said you'll have it done at 10 a.m. in the morning. Client comes in at 9:50. You say, hey, it's going to be another 20 minutes. Let me get this done. I was going to do it. Something happens. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Anyway, guys, think about what I said. I think it's important, keeping these things open. So, the question is, is the expertise, or is it the knowledge, or is it the finished product, having a racket in hand, having results? I think results win. The younger me said the experience will win, but now they come to you because of convenience. They come to you because you're quick. They're coming for you. You're going to do it right, and coming to you because you're going to get it done on time. So there we go. Peace out.